client that was saying, I'm working so much and I've got no money. And I'm like, you can't have no time and also have no money. My name's Sasha and for the last 6 to 7 years now, I've been helping new brand founders start and scale new e-commerce businesses to the effect of over 2,000 people in the last 6 years. And I'm joined today by my co-host, Hamen, who's spent over $30 million on advertising and generated over $120 million for our clients. We're going to go through the specific steps that we would follow if we were starting a new brand in 2026.
Let's say opening Sasha, you have $5,000 and you were starting. What would you do? What's actually the first thing that you'll plan?
So if I'm in a position where I'm in dire straits, I want to make money, I would want to use my own knowledge, my own resources.
I'm actually going to probably not do that. No, I understand that you're looking at that community, but I'm curious, why?
And if you have zero organic traction and you have no idea about what works, you've got no kind of customer feedback, customer data, you've got nothing.
So I'll do the opposite completely because
today's episode is a little bit different. What we're going to do is we're going to go through the specific steps that we would follow if we were starting a new brand in 2026. We've got a few guardrails and a few rules that have been set up to make sure that they are very specific and similar to you if you're watching this podcast today. So here's the rules. Number one is we only have $5,000 in investment or cash available to start the business. Number two is we've got 90 days or 3 months to build the business. And number three is we've only got 15 hours a week to deploy into the strategy that we're going to be sharing with you during this podcast. We're going to go through our individual strategies, and at the end, we're going to kind of debate and argue with each other as far as which strategy is going to be most appropriate and have the highest success rate. So listen very closely right the way through the end and see which of these strategies is going to help you launch your brand in 2026. Hamen, there's going to be some bruises and some black eyes by the end of this podcast. Let's rip in. I'm excited.
Yes, I'm actually thinking about, we were talking about this right before we started recording, but I'm really looking at what we did in the past, what I did specifically to build the business that I have. And then on top of this, what I recommended recently for more of a client, same situation, same limitation, and we're actually doing 6-figure per month. So I'm looking at really those elements, case study basis, rather than just recommending things for you guys hey, let's just do this thing. But I'm telling you things that I did. And that's kind of my focus whenever I'm sharing something. I want to really be clear on this. This is what I would recommend, and it's actually what I will do. And I did it in the past.
Understood. Yeah, I mean, I would hope that with the experience and knowledge that both of us have across different businesses for almost 10 years now, we don't just pluck random theories out of the air.
But I think I was actually when we started thinking about this, I think your positioning will be a little bit different than me, but I think that the ingredients or kind of the limitation would change everything. Because I know we talked about this, if you have less than 5,000 versus if you have more than 5,000, I think every time you have condition, that would change the entirety of your actions.
Correct. I definitely agree. And I think it's, again, the more constraints that you put on this, the more difficult it is and the more it kind of forces you to kind of solve the problem in a different way. But the interesting thing is, despite there being a limited kind of resources, limited time, and then the certain target of generating that $10,000 in sales in 90 days, it's it forces you to think through a certain lens. But at the same time, there's still multiple different ways to solve the problem. You know what I mean? Which is interesting. And I'm really excited to kind of go through this and hear your strategy and then compare it to my strategy and then look at kind of the end result. So let's jump in.
Absolutely. And as I mentioned to you, there are many ways to solve this. And I actually saw this situation personally twice and with a client, probably more than 10 times, but I've seen this many times. Limitation of resources, and we have very much short time frame. And I think you have potentially, because of your experience, many ways to do this. I'll probably focus on two if I was to really think about it. So I'm very excited about this, but I know that we're going to have probably some different views on some things.
Of course. I would hope so. That would be interesting.
But the question here for you, actually, just to start with that, if I was to put in a time in your life where you had this situation, when was it? I'm just curious. A situation where you, not necessarily, let's say the 5,090 days, but limitation in resources that you see that they kind of can't match it and you need to do something.
So time when this happened specifically to me, would have been when I was transitioning out of my hail damage repair business into the online space, and I was trying to push my first ever like digital product online. And at that point, I had just finished some big events with the Wolf of Wall Street. I wiped out, like it really, really, really cost me a lot financially. I think I was like down about $480,000 after that experience. And I was very much in a position where I was like desperate. I had little to no money left over. I had taken as much mortgage, or remortgaged my property. I'd taken all the equity that I could out of that property to fund that situation. So I couldn't do anything else except for maybe sell my house. And I was like, I'm not going to sell my house, because even what was left in the house wasn't that much in terms of like, because I've already drawn
You're not getting
down.
anything. So you're like
Exactly.
selling it, but yeah, anything.
Exactly.
No
So I'd sell it, just have some transactional kind of costs, maybe recoup another 50,000. But I was like, I need something now. Like I've got bills to pay. I've got the American Express card. That's like, those guys are calling me every single day being like, hey, do you know that your late payment? I was like, oh my God, this is intense.
So when you were in this situation, do you think that you had clarity of decision, or it was like, decision making very narrow and kind of like, I need to do something?
No, you don't have any long-term thinking. That's kind of like, it's kind of like the blessing and the curse. I used to always talk about this when I was in this situation, when I was shooting some content, and it's like pain of that nature forces clarity, right? Because like, although it's not the best kind of clarity, people can sit there and say, oh, you need to have all of this abundant thinking. You need to think like you're wealthy and you'll be wealthy, or make decisions from your future self, all that kind of stuff. And it makes sense, I think, like for you to have that kind of like lens or that paradigm. But the thing is, the real of the situation is when you're, in a position where you've got like, I don't know, $1,500 in your bank account, and you've got like $70,000 on your credit card, and then you've got like, $8,000 to $9,000 of monthly expenses that you need to pay just to like run your house. You're kind of like,
your actions are very different,
right? You're in full blown survival mode. You just are, and you're just like sitting there, and you're like, what the hell am I going to do to make money? And like, where am I going to get the money from, like tomorrow?
I think that's what I've seen. Like when I was in this exact situation, just to give you kind of feel, built the business, scaled up, massive liability and resources, essentially massive supply chain issue where we were out like $500,000. So I know it's crazy, same thing. And the moment I had this, PayPal hold my money, hold about 6-figure plus. So massive losses across many situations, and no cash anymore, need to pay rent, need to pay things. My thinking was very limited, but at the same time, I had this new clarity. Like I need to do action that makes money. And I was almost like, I'm not going to miss this. I'm not going to miss this because I need to make the money. So I think people looking at this session and over this podcast, look at what you do, probably 99% you're going to listen, you're going to do nothing, right? But if you actually action on this with that kind of clarity, I need to make things happen, you're going to make it happen. So I don't want to think, like, I know that, again, 99% people will listen to this, do nothing, just again, sit and kind of like, hey, it was a good episode. But if you're in that 1% and you listen to this, and I've been there, I know the clarity you have, and I know how much you're going to be very much looking at your capital. So this is potentially what you should do. And I'll be very cautious about the budget. I'll be very cautious about how you can get there. But I'll tell you what I would do if I was in your position. And again, I see myself in this situation, lacking resources, same thing. I know about this, just to kind of put you in that kind of feel right away, right?
But it's such a key point, because like, it's exactly what you said. So it's like, so many times I watch videos that are kind of similar to this, and you see it coming from people that have just like spun up some strategy, and it's like, but you've never been there. You know what I mean? And it's like, you and I both know what it's like to literally be like, I am on the verge here. Like I'm like about to go under. You know what I mean? It's like everything is like out of cash. You've got nothing. And then in fact, you've got mounting debts, and then you've got people looking like pressure on you. It's very, very, very difficult to manage.
I was disconnected from money. I was like, essentially, I'm so much down that there is almost like nothing that, even if you tell me you're making 10,000, I'm not excited, because the amount of problems that I had to deal with was so much bigger than 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 that I was not so excited about 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000. I think that also pulled me in, but I need to pay. I need to do these things. I need to pay. So I need to change and kind of shift myself from that You're not going to get the 100K you want, but you still can make something to pay what you have. And that's the first action. I think that clarity coming in, and I know some of the listeners probably, they have like a little bit of cash and thinking, I need to make money online. I will give you in this call or this session exactly what I would do in this podcast from scratch, but I'll put that clarity in perspective. So you need to do the actions. It's not going to be, you do it 1 hour and then done. If we say 15, it's 15. And if we say that it's under 5,000, above 5,000, it's not going to work if you have under $5,000. Probably I would not do it.
And I think the only thing that would probably offset the rules that we've set here, let's say, for example, you have like less than 5,000 as an example, but you have like 40 hours or 50 hours. You can probably make a little bit of that change. You know what I mean?
So if you have more time, keep in mind, I think it's Alex Becker mentioned this a lot, but you either have time or money. You can't be poor in both. If you tell me, hey, I don't have time, I don't have money, we have a problem. We need to have at least one of the two. So obviously, if you have more than 15 hours, we can kind of lower a little bit the budget that you need to start with. If you have 80 hours a week, that's like insane. You can really do so many things and you don't need to hire any person. You can edit and learn and implement and save money. And obviously the budget will be lower. So the demand is not the same if you have more time.
Agreed. I said this on the coaching call recently. I think there was a client that was saying, I'm working so much. And I'm like, well, surely you must have a lot of, extra free cash if you work. I've got no money. And I'm like, you can't have no time and also have no money.
Yeah. It's like a strong deficiency because you picked something where clearly your time is not positioned well because you're not making anything. And if that's the case, I'll accept it. So let's say I'm in a situation where I picked a job, can't do anything else. My expertise is limited. I just want to make the money. Then you're probably paying something you should not pay. Expenses are a problem. You need to solve that. There's another problem because you either have some money regardless of the job you do, or you have some time. You can't be out of both. Even if you tell me, well, I'm working minimum wage. If you're doing 80 hours, you have some money. If you cut on other things. So there's no reason on like, we don't have time and money.
Very good. Good context. I think that's fantastic. Just so that you know, everybody listening, coming from real world experiences of having been on the bones of our ass and then rebuilt from scratch, from zero, from negative. The clarity, that feeling of your heart is about to pop out of your chest. You can't breathe because you've got so much anxiety about like how you're going to make rent next week. Very apparent and very known experiences from both myself and Hamen. So this strategy comes from that place. This doesn't come from some textbook or some observation of what we would. This is real of building businesses in 2026. Very good.
All right. So I'm curious. Maybe we start with let's say we put in Sasha, you have $5,000 and you were starting. What would you do? Like let's say tomorrow and we have these restrictions. I'm curious, like what's actually the first thing that you would plan? Would you put in the 15 hours in front of you in a calendar? Like what would you do first? I'm curious about that.
Let me get at my plan. I've written this all down in my document here. So here's exactly, first things first, from a meta level situation, similar to what you mentioned, I would want to, look, to be honest, if I'm in that urgent of a situation and I've got no cash and I'm running out of money and I've got 15 hours and I'm in dire straits, I'm probably not going to think as rationally enough to organize my calendar, get my sleep score in order.
I know I mentioned calendar, but I was like, if you do it or not? No, I'm not going to do it.
You're going to wake up and you're just going to rip in and use whatever time you've got. Like you're going to be like urgently just burning you're going to be waking up early, having the coffee, getting in front of the computer before the kids get up in the morning. It doesn't matter. You're going to use anything that you can get your damn hands on. So this is kind of the structure or the strategy that I would follow in this situation. So the way that I would think about it, if I was in that position, is I would like to think of this first things first in terms of like my model, or the way that I would do this is very much like, so you look at what's happening in the world at the moment. This is how I've kind of formulated this idea. What's happening in the world at the moment is like the AI kind of like trend, evolution, growth is giving much more kind of like non-human based connection to the digital situation, right? It's getting more and more difficult for people to kind of determine AI versus real images, et cetera, et cetera. And that's a massive advantage, but it also brings more and more distrust and more skepticism to people where they go, is this real? Is this not real? I don't know. I can't really tell. And it's kind of becoming indistinguishable between, like I said, reality versus AI. Okay. And so what I believe is an extension of that, or what happens as a result of that, is people also feel more disconnected, right? They're kind of like, they're unsure about, like, should I trust? Should I not trust? I don't know if I want to share. I don't really want to get scammed. There's all of that concern around, like, AI versus not AI. And then people feel more isolated and alone, right? So if I'm in a position where I'm in dire straits, I want to make money, I would want to use my own, like, knowledge, my own resources, my own, like, lived experience to begin with, to be able to kind of, like, use that to begin to connect with individuals or build some kind of community-focused audience that's independent from the AI, right? Because if I'm in a situation, I don't want to go and get swept down the whole, like, AI.
You're going to, like, essentially the opposite of what I would do.
It's exactly
right away.
Exactly.
I would why would you do that? Like, I would go AI. Like, it's just surprising. When you said first the trends, I was like looking at the news. Are you going to be talking about Trump or something? But no, you went into communities. That's the first thing. I was like,
I built a Trump T-shirt. You know?
Yeah. But, yeah, it's like go to war. But anyway, I would say that I'm actually going to probably not do that. Just so no. I understand that you're looking at that community, but I'm curious, like, why? Why kind of going into opposite to the trend itself?
Well, I just think that what I would want to do here is I'd want to, through personal maybe not face to face, but through, like, a controlled connection or a controlled group of people, I would want to validate ideas and see the level of problems that people have in terms of, like, particular problems that they're having and the propensity they have to solve.
What would you sell?
Say what?
What would you sell? What would you sell? What is
I wouldn't focus first on trying to sell something to people. I would want to kind of, like, get into different, like, groups, communities, and find out what people are having trouble with. That's what I would focus on. I wouldn't jump in being like, I'm going to push this product. I would look at first things first. Okay, so I have a perfect example. Let's rewind 3 months ago, and let's be, if I was in this exact situation, right? Like, if I was in a situation where I was broke, I've got no money, I've got very limited resources, I'm stressed out of my mind. Like, I would be like, okay, so what's some experiences that I have right now that other people probably might have? Well, there's probably other people that have, like, you know, extreme financial concerns, people that are really struggling to manage money, people really struggling with not just managing money, but also, like, what that has an impact on their families, etc. Because you're stressed and you're kind of overwhelmed and you have no idea about, like, how to, like, provide for your family, all these kinds of things. So it's like, are there some experiences that you have or you're having right now that other people might also have, as an example, in this financial situation? And then I would try and connect with people in maybe, like, or at least, like, go through Reddit, you know, kind of like forums, comment sections, school communities, Facebook groups, anywhere that I could find some people online or even in person that are doing this kind of, like, thing or having this similar kind of problem, and then just see if I could validate the idea. The person that I think comes to mind with this situation that did a similar thing was Kelly with her product that she launched, right? So she had this premenopausal kind of, like, weight gain situation that she was happening, and she was like, this is horrible. And so all she did was started to kind of, like, find communities or find groups of people online, and she just started sharing stuff about the same problem. That's it. It was just like, I'm having this problem. Look, I've got this thing going on. I've put on all this weight. I don't know what to do. I've got, 20 different supplements that I'm trying to take to solve the problem. None of them seem to work. I'm spending $2,000 a month on supplements and I'm not getting anything. Can you relate?
So essentially, you're going to use something based on your own persona, right? Just to be clear. So for a person looking at this, let's say you are in the fitness space and you're like, I need to really get something going. Then you're going to join school communities around, let's say, fitness, and kind of start getting a feel of what they want, what they're looking at, problems, and kind of building a solution for that audience particularly, correct?
That's exactly right. And then look, it's not to say that I'd be, like, anti-AI. Like, I would still, in all of the Reddit forums or in all the school communities or Facebook groups, whatever it might be, I would be scraping all of the content, all the comments. I'd load that into AI and be like, what's the problems? What's the commonalities? What's the patterns? Like, what are people talking about? What are the particular buzzwords? All of that type of stuff I'd really use to, like, refine and process information so that I could be like, okay, this is a people are talking a lot about like this particular subject. And then I would want to then control that kind of like problem that I've identified and take that into similar to what I mentioned before, whether it's like your own private community or your own kind of like separate, whether it's a Facebook group, whether it's a school community, whether it's an Instagram kind of like chat or a WhatsApp or a Telegram. It doesn't matter.
Well,
It's like,
you do the math then, but would you like, for example, let's say you come in, let's say we just look at this. You enter the community, you know exactly the type of communities you're in, you're taking all the content, looking at a product that you can solve, like problem kind of solution that you can provide to them. And then would you look at the numbers of that community to see how much you can sell in terms of like conversion rate and so on? So for example, a 10,000 community, you're probably not going to be able to get a lot of returns unless you sell something a little bit more expensive, right? So would you kind of do that, or you just think about the general market?
no, the numbers side of things, like I would want to be bringing in at least like 100 people into like my little private community. And the thing is, I used to do this myself when I first was like starting out, and I'd do like a 7-day like free like little like trial, almost like a little boot camp thing. Sorry, a 4-day free boot camp. And then I would just like, all I would do with like no social media following and nothing, I'd be like, hey, I'm going to run this, 4-day like boot camp that's going to be talking to you about like how to set your goals and like, set your business up. And I didn't even have any idea about what I was doing in business, but I was like, I'm just going to, do this thing. And so like, I had like, a social media following. And then all I would do is I'd talk about for about 3 days on my socials. I've got this little 3-day challenge. I've got this, 4-day boot camp, whatever it might be. And then I would like have interested people that would DM, be like, let's join me up to this thing. And every single time I would run one of these little events, I would have like between 40 to like 80 people join into this like free community that would be like, I'm interested to learn about this thing. I want to build my business. I want to lose more body fat, whatever it might be. I'd be like, all you're trying to do is you're trying to
Would you sell, okay, in this case, would you sell high ticket or low ticket?
No, I'm not focusing even on the product yet. All I'm focusing on is how could I get the concentration of people that have the same problem? That's the key thing. And then from those people, then I would look to build out what exactly it is that they're going to buy. Because initially, like that's the thing that's going to drive them into the community or the group, whatever it is. If you're out there and you're like, all right, here it is. I've got this new widget. And if you need to get access to this widget, you're going to click the Facebook group and join the Facebook group. That, like, people are going to be like, I don't want to buy more shit. But if you go, this is the problem that I've had. I'm running a free 4-day workshop in this group to help you if you maybe have experienced this and talk about it in a lot of detail. Same thing if you're reaching out and you're posting stuff on your socials or posting stuff in Facebook groups or posting stuff in Reddit being like, this is a horrible problem that I've been having for the last 3-4 months. I'm interested. Are there any other people that have had this kind of... People love talking about their damn problems, right? And so all you're looking to do more than anything else is identify with people who actually have the same problem and they're willing to connect and build that kind of community around nothing else except for the problem. I'm not going to go into any details. I'm not going to go into pushing products. I'm not going to go into high ticket, low ticket, any of that stuff. All I'm trying to do is really, really, really connect with and build community of people. And also, in addition to that, position myself as an expert. That's it. I don't want to, I want people to look at me as like an educator, an expert, someone who really knows this problem very well by the way that I'm kind of talking about it. Very, very, very important. That's what I would do. And then in addition to that, similar to what we were talking about before, I would do this, let's say, for example, for 1 week, 2 weeks, I'm like, okay, cool. This is the problem I'm going to talk about. And I'd post it on all my social media, go into every single Facebook group that I can find, post it, talk about exactly specifics, put really detailed problem-oriented kind of posts into those groups being like, this is how I used to, I'm not sure, wake up every morning and have anxiety. It was horrible. I used to literally lose sleep. I couldn't speak to people. My palms would be sweaty. My throat would feel like it was choked up. I was that anxious and that scared to even like face people. I couldn't look eye contact with anybody. It would make me feel nervous. Now I'm able to do like that kind of really taught people like, oh, wow, this is very similar to me. I wanted to learn more about what he did, or I want to learn more about how this guy was able to do this and somehow not be anxious anymore. Connect. I want to build at least 100 people in that group. And the thing is as well, when you have these groups, you want to also incentivize others to add their friends who are similar people. So it's like you get rewarded for inviting your friends into the group because like attracts like. And then people are like, if you know anybody who has the same problem and they want to join in here, feel free to get them joining. And then they all kind of like join and build each other up.
You're going to be like more aggressive community building right away. First
100%, 100% community building
and generate more kind of growth organically from that.
Precisely.
So you're really going to be
and the thing is,
organic growth.
Yes, and the community thing, it's like it's the community, but then it's also like I would want to, as the because all of a sudden the person that created the community just by extension becomes the expert, right? Because it's like, well, it's my community, I created this thing. And then what you do is in that situation, I would want to personally, one-on-one phone call, reach out to all the people right in that community, and I would want to have specific conversations about all the problems that they've had, right? Why they joined this particular community, what solutions they've maybe tried in the past that have been helpful or not helpful to solve their problems. And that's my kind of like full-blown like case study group. I'm grabbing all this information. I'm grabbing all this data. What have you tried to use in the past? What other products have worked? What other products haven't worked? Because what I'm trying to do is like, I'm trying to offset risk, right? Rather than going out there and being like, let's go and take, ad spend dollars. Let's go and take, my time and energy. Let's go and take crappy products that I'm trying to find on Amazon and spin them up with a random landing page. I don't have any technical ability. I don't have technical knowledge or know-how.
You're not using any capital at this level.
Zero capital. Zero.
Wow. That's why we're doing different things. Okay. So you're really building from scratch.
This is full-blown 0, 0, 0. At this point here, there is not a single dollar that's been spent. I've got $5,000 still in my pocket, so F you, right? But you
still there. Still have 5,000.
I've still got the $5,000 cash. So by this point, all I've needed is Facebook community or school community. And then I've got all of my socials being activated. And then I'm using my mobile phone. I'm calling all these people. I've called 100 people. I've got all these data points. I'm like, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What's your problems? And the thing is, if you don't want to put this work in and then go and phone these people and connect with these people, understand their problems, and then see what particular products they might have used in the past, and then you think that you're just going to throw some product out in the market and it's going to start selling. It's like, you can't be lazy, right? Ignorant, and then just ignore all of this like opportunity to speak to these people and think you're going to go and make money, right? It's like this idea that
actually, what you're doing right now is so good when I think about it. You're creating a group and you're extracting information from the market to know what to sell. And then you're kind of offsetting all that. It's really good. You're offsetting all the risk.
It's exactly what it is. So there's right now at this point, the only risk you have is you feeling embarrassed about posting stuff. But if you're broke and you've got bills to pay and rent due next month and you've got credit card statements, you can't be embarrassed, man.
But I know some people would actually be lazy to do this.
100%. 100%.
Even if they need the money, they'd be like, well, it's not fast. Like the thing is, I don't think it will be fast.
Absolutely. And so that's the thing. It's like, so once you've done this, you've gone through, you've built this community, you've got 100, 200 people, they're all interacting, and you need to be very active in this community to continue the engagement and stimulate the engagement, right? From that point there, you've spoken to 100 plus people. You've got all these data points about exactly the type of things. I've got this problem. It's horrible. I've tried all these solutions. They didn't work. This one worked, but it cost $500. Geez, if there was a way that I could have this solution. What you're looking to do here is build and develop what is like a minimum viable product or an MVP, something that is literally told to you by 50 of these people that goes, this is what I would love to have. If it was a thing, I would surely pay for it tomorrow, right? That's kind of the ideal outcome. When you finish that, don't go to market and start designing a product or building a product or any of that stuff. All you want to do is pre-sell that exact solution to those people. Then what you do is, whether you want to knock up a simple Google form, it doesn't need to be pretty. Shoot a video on your phone, right? Shoot a video on your phone, attach it to a Google form, explain to the top of the people at the list, explain to them, okay, here's what we've got. Now, I've interviewed a lot of you guys in the last 6 weeks or in the last 2 weeks in this community. here's what I'm proposing. I'm going to create this solution. In fact, I've actually already started creating this solution. Here's what it's going to do. It's going to stop your anxiety. It's going to stop your sweating. It's going to stop your the sweaty palms. It's going to stop that feeling of like someone's got their hand around your throat. And what it's going to be delivered in is a powdered format. It's going to be one simple scoop. You're going to put it into a container. At this point here, you might use a little bit of AI to create some like nice little mock-up images to give people a visual impression of what it might look like, right? Now, because you're a first member in this community and because you've been actively engaging for the last 2.5 weeks and you've been helping other community members, fill out your details in this Google form. No cost required at all, just Google form, right? Put your information in here, and then all you want to do is put a Stripe link at the bottom for people to be able to get pre-sale access. Before we go live here, I'm going to give special release access to 30 members of this group so you can be VIP, first release. I'm going to be using you. I'm going to be phone calling you. You're going to be testing this before anyone else in the market has. You can get first release access, all these great things, and it's going to be 50% of the retail price. It's going to be $250. You're going to get access to $125. Just go through, put your information, and secure your first position. And because you've done this with a concentrated group of people that have high degrees of trust because you have spoken to their problem that they have, right? There's all heaps of other people around them that are social proof validating, we have this problem too. This is a real problem. And you've also spoke to them on the phone and said, what have you got going on in your life? How could I actually help? The trust and credibility is huge, right? You get this pre-sale, pre-release situation. You're looking for 30 to 50 people to pre-sale purchase on that Google form. Scrappy as hell. Stripe link, 30 to 50 people. There's another $5,000 to $7,000 of cash you've just got back from that group. Take that cash, and then you go to product development phase.
Saying you're going to pay rent, or you're not going to be like, hey, take that cash.
So
and then do something.
By this point, I'm about 6 weeks in. I've doubled my money, right? I've got $10,000 in liquid cash. It's cost me $0 so far. And then now I've got a product to build, an existing demand that's actually been validated because people are already paying me for it, right? So that's my situation. That's exactly how I would do it. From that point, I would go forward into developing the product, right? Being like, extra, how am I actually going to solve this? And you always want to put yourself into that position of being like, I've got demand that's been validated via people that have already paid me for a product that I don't even have yet. It puts you in an urgent position where you need to go and solve the problem of the supply and figuring out how to deliver the product, right? You always want to be in that position versus being like, I'm demand. I don't even know how I'm going to get demand. I've got a product sitting here. No one wants it. And how am I supposed to sell it? That's what most people are at. You want to be the opposite of that situation where you've got so much demand. People are already validated the demand. They already paid you for the demand. They're sitting there being like, hurry up and deliver the product. I'm really looking forward to using it. Because then you're completely hedged as far as net zero. In fact, you're in the positive because you've got their cash that you're building the product with. So if I was to go from zero today in this situation, and the thing is, because of, this is like the anti-AI strategy, mainly because people are already more and more disconnected. This brings people together, connects people, brings like attracts alike, and then you position yourself as an expert and a credible individual, and the profit margins on these products, because there's no acquisition, no advertising, but nothing spent, is 50, 60, 70% if you have high margin products. So this is exactly what I would do. I don't use the AI to spin up the images and the landing pages. The tooling for this situation, Google form, right? To take payment, and then a Stripe account.
Yeah,
right?
You're so aggressive. Like you're really a great seller from what I see. Like just going aggressive.
It's like
Google
you got nothing.
Stripe.
You got nothing. I want to keep it as lean and scrappy as possible. But the thing is, it's like what I said before. Most people are too embarrassed to do this shit, right? And I know this because I could have done a lot more of this stuff, but I opted to be like, maybe if I just like run paid ads, and then that way, like I don't need to get on the phone with these people, or I don't need to like speak to or DM. I'll just make sales with paid ads. And it's like paid ads only amplifies what's already organically working. And if you have zero organic traction and you have no idea about what works, you've got no kind of like customer feedback, customer data, you've got nothing, and then you go and start running paid ads, you're burning your money to figure out what you could have already figured out with organic. And that's why this strategy, I believe, is very effective. It takes more work, but the net result as far as having product market fit and then also preserving your cash and your sanity is very high. So this is exactly what I'll do.
All right. It's actually like when I think about your strategy, it's very similar to what I would think about, but I'm just positioning things differently because I feel like you're going more aggressive on the sales side because you're obviously have a lot of experience in sales and I think that's why. So you went with the let's build an audience and let's sell to them, right? Quickly and as effectively as possible. Now, my strategy, if I was to think about, let's say we're in a similar position, I don't have any resources. If I was to launch a business, so let's say from scratch, and I'm just looking at that strategic level, I'm going to be using AI. So I'll do the opposite completely because I don't like to talk to people. So that's why, if you think about it. So our positioning is different because you can talk to people and you know how to convert them. And potentially, I would say there's a demographic that's kind of behaving the way you behave. So they're really looking to talk to people, they're more engaged. But there is another audience that don't want to do this. They don't want to talk to someone. And I think that's the audience that potentially would follow my strategy. And I believe that it's still going to make them a significant ROI. So if I was to kind of take this from that perspective and think about what will I do, I would actually use data as much as possible. And I will go with AI and almost like embrace AI entirely and do the opposite again. And if I was to think about like what product should I do, I'll think about first, what do I need? I have $5,000. I can't really say spend cash randomly. I will think about, I need a landing page. I can do that with AI with just a Shopify plan. It's $1 for 3 months. They have that option. So I don't have to pay for that. There are free apps, there's trials, and you can kind of pivot between trials and just keep it for free forever if you want. Again, for at least 90 days. So I can use a website like Shopify with a free trial and then use apps on trial. So I can really build an automation in something that would work. Then I need to find the product. So it's the main thing. Find the product. I know with AI, we can do content. It's so good. Like if you look at today's like abundance of content, it's insane. Like you have Grok essentially changing an entirety of the, I'd say, content creation level. So you can do so much content right now. So I would think about, I need a problem that's pretty much common. And I need to find a solution that's not necessarily, let's say, available or widely available. And that solution is my product. And I would really focus on that. So my structure would be use AI, be aggressive on that. I don't need to appear. I just use a problem to drive the sales. So kind of the cut and band-aid strategy. So show a problem, try to solve it, and so on. So to find the problem, if I was to think about it, so let's say we have this product that we want to build. We don't know what to build. We have Shopify as a website kind of structure, and we have AI for content. I need to find the opportunity. This is where I go to Amazon and I will look at all the categories on Amazon. And you can do this yourself. I'm thinking always about what is my affinity versus, let's say, these categories that we see on Amazon bestsellers. So let's say my affinity is 10 out of 10 for the dogs category. So I understand really dogs category. Or let's say my affinity is very high for automotive. I'm very passionate about car care. So let's say whatever affinity I have, I'm going to take that category. I'm going to dissect it. I'm going to enter the category. I'm going to load Jungle Scout. I'm going to look at the sales per subcategory. So dogs, you have a lot of problems for dogs. You have like grooming. We have, let's say, bedding. So many problems. I'll tackle what's the category where we have the highest likelihood of seeing volume with Jungle Scout. So affinity plus volume. Then let's say dogs.
So when you say affinity, you mean like I have some personal connection with it? Is that what you mean?
Yes, exactly. So for example, if you are very passionate about pets, that's your affinity. If let's say you spend so much time looking about, let's say, beauty, beauty products or supplements, whatever it is, that's your category because you know it. It's going to be easier for you to absorb information and use AI. So just from a strategy / speed. So let's say we look at these categories, looking at the subcategories at top, let's say drum of sales with Amazon Jungle Scout. That's when I identify the niche, but not necessarily the product. I'm going to take that particular subcategory. So let's say dogs groom, let's say dog brushes, whatever it is. I'm going to take that. And then that's when I use AI to actually look at what's out there being, let's say, advertised. With Meta Ad Library, you can use AI with the keywords and just get Meta Ad Library, see the ads, see the market, see the businesses, what they're doing. So now we have competition that we can analyze with a niche I understand. This is when I start looking at what are they lacking. And if they're lacking nothing, I'll just go into another product. So the idea is...
How do you know what they're lacking?
Exactly. So most of the time, businesses nowadays, they actually use AI for content. So I'm going to look at the problem it's solving, right? Problem it's solving, whatever it is. I'm going to look at the product they have. And I'm going to see if there's anything that I can improve. And you can either fix something. You can fix it. You can bundle it. So bundle something, create kind of like two products into one. Or you can create a new solution if this is actually not working. So the idea here is to pick a product where you know there's a problem. you use AI to analyze the ads of this competitor, and you ask me about like, how do you know what to do? I'll use AI, and we have a script with this in eCom Capital that I actually shared in my coaching, that I would take those ads and I would tell AI, can you tell me what is the thing that they're lacking? Like control prompts. Essentially absorb that. And now I have a problem, a potential solution. And at this level, I still didn't do anything. I'm just like looking at problem solutions. And I'm going to look at, well, if I was to create a landing page and I show this imaginary product, again, it doesn't really exist at this level. And I'm probably going to start at this level, just looking at, using Axio to see what kind of suppliers we have, just to get a feel of potentially who I would talk to. But I'm just looking to advertise. So I'll do the ads, I'll do the problems. This is new. I'll run the ads and I'll see if we get sales. That's it. I'll use my budgets. I'm more aggressive. I know that I'm not going to be saving and kind of doing a community. I'll just do the ads, run the ad in front of an audience, AI content, the problem, the new product never seen before. And then I'm doing a pre-sale at this level, but they're seeing it as just a regular purchase because I want to see my conversion rate. I'm running the ads for a landing page that I will create with AI, and then a product that I'm solving with AI. It's not out there. And based on the ROAS, and I'm going to be looking at 3 to 5 ROAS, because that's a good level of cash flow kind of rotation. So I put 5,000, I have 15,000. So I'm thinking about, I need to do a pre-sale and I need to run this pre-order structure for 3 months. And then essentially I want to put in 5,000 and make 15,000 at least back. And I want to rotate this fast. So my structure would be, run this idea, look at the ROAS. If it's not good, I spend $500. If it's not good, just pivot to another one. And my goal would be within 4 or 5 ideas, I have one that would give me 3 ROAS. And keep in mind, at this level, this product doesn't exist. So it's a new solution never seen before with AI. And I want to show this to the audience. And I'm fully AI driven in terms of content, page, and product. And that's what I would do.
So you've got 10 cracks at it with a $500 budget.
Exactly.
Essentially.
And keep in mind, just for the audience, like I know that probably if I was to really think about it, I'm in the situation, I'm going to be aggressive. Like I have 10 chances or 10, I would say possibility, but I'm going to be probably loading, let's say, trying to find a way to build somebody to do another 10. So I'm going to be just doing this structure consistently to get an idea that would give me that ROAS that I can scale up to, I can recover my losses and kind of get from there. So it's going to be my main focus essentially. But one thing to note here in this structure, let's say we run the ads and then I have a good ROAS. That's when I will look at sourcing, but I'll also be looking at essentially working with a supplier like FF Order where we don't have any lead time. So I'm going to try to cut on the lead time as well, which is another problem. So my focus would be finding an opportunity where we also have a low lead time essentially, or a dropship structure. So it's going to be my main focus to get this going. And I know that if I spend the 5,000, I have 15,000 back. And these guys are okay waiting. So I'll be emailing them the same way you did with your community. I'll do that with any person that purchased. I'll do the automation. I'll talk to them. I'll be like, hey, send an email, very personalized. By the way, we have this amazing product never seen before, because it's a never seen before product. And the wait time will be X amount. And it's based on the lead time. And my goal is that 5,000 would be turned into 10,000, 15,000 consistently. And these guys will have to wait for a year because I don't have the capital, right? So I'm building the capital. I'm just going to be emailing them always on pre-sale, essentially, with a product that doesn't exist. And because my product doesn't exist, they've never seen it before. So I'm not selling something that they can look at Amazon and just kind of buy the same thing. It's unseen before, and it's an AI-based product. So that's potentially the structure I would go with. And this is what I would recommend. I mentioned stories and things like that. I have a client recently, actually not recently, we've been working together for a few months. And we started working together on a media buying. So I'm running their ads, part of Ecom Private. And the first, month, I saw the return was not good. I was like, let's pivot. That's another product, right? And our idea was she creates something like this. We run the ads and then we see how it works. And that's it. We're not committing more than $500 per test. And the goal would be, can we create this exact scenario that you mentioned? And the first one didn't work. On the ads, just a little bit of traction, but it was not good. Paused. Second, run the ad, didn't work. Pause. Third, run the ads, got returns. And I'm like, okay, we have something. Now we start working on improving the page and we start looking at scaling. And this is potentially the same way I kind of guided her to this setup is what I would do. And if you look at Paul, the example of going from zero, we did the podcast with him, to right now he's doing 200K plus in revenue. The way we did it was kind of similar. We create an idea, we don't order inventory, we run the ads, make the money, and then proceed and do this. This is what I would probably do at any given moment if I lack capital.
I guess the one thing is that requires also, like, it's like, what if I don't know how to run media? What if I don't know how to buy media? What if I don't know how to spend money on Facebook ads? What if I've never opened an ads manager? What if I'm like, oh, dude, how do I know what ads manager looks like? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a whole skill set of like, there's a skill set that needs, and there's a skill set of like, how do I build landing pages? How do I build a Shopify store? It's very easy, obviously. You know, you can find someone.
Probably at this level, I would look at, well, you know, you mentioned what would I do? If I was in that position, I will still use AI. There's no justification. AI could guide you into running a basic ad account. AI would help you into advertising a product. So still no reason. So I'll probably not necessarily be like, hey, I can't do it. I'll still think, well, let's say I have no knowledge on media buying. There's no expertise. Like I can't do anything. It's not my area of expertise. Use AI. It still can guide me. I don't have to look at, let's say, ways to complex something that's not.
Yes. I understand what you're saying.
Simple campaign. And I'm probably, again, I will do this. Like really, if I was to think about, I have no expertise and I have AI, I'll use AI aggressively, like crazy. That's going to be my only bet, is that people are a little bit more lazy and they're not going to be looking to do the action. So I'll think about that. And also, most of the time, people are not willing to commit their money. And I'm probably more aggressive in that category. So my only edge is I do the actions and I risk the money. And I know people won't do the two together. So that's my edge.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I get it completely. Yeah, very good. Interesting. The ultimate test of this is like the undercover billionaire. You know, that documentary on what was it, the Discovery Channel, Grant Cardone. He goes undercover into some little country town in Texas and he needs to build $1 million business in 90 days. Have you seen that thing?
Yeah, I think I saw a little bit of it. I've seen him actually go into like, I think workshop, something like it. I've seen him like I've seen a little bit of it, but not much. But I've seen this first 10,000 and then, but I saw a lot of, I think, people talking about like kind of saying that it was not true, but I don't know.
No, I know. You look at some of the things and it's also like, you go into that situation and it's like, I'm broke, I have no money, but I just have a random cameraman following me around. It's like, please explain why you have a cameraman following you around. But that's the ultimate test of this thing, is putting it to the test and going head to head with these products and launching these things and testing this, because there's some similarity in these things, but I think it's similar to what you said before, where it's like both of them kind of play to the strengths and the skill sets that we have. You know what I mean? Like yours plays to your strength as far as like not wanting to talk to people and just being the media kind of back end driver. And then mine's kind of like being okay, building that community, speaking to people, selling to people. It's like both of those things are quite appropriate. So I'm curious, as an audience perspective, which of these ideas do you think you would most likely use? Which of these tactics do you think have had highest kind of like win rate or probability to actually win in today's current market? And submit your votes in terms of which of these ideas would likely.
You're like, hey, Hamen is very data driven, so we're gonna go with that. It's just like very specific. Give us numbers, AI, structure, right?
That's very
not
good.
Good sales. We don't want to talk to people.
I mean, look, the real of this situation is, and the reason I wanted to have this conversation is because both of these ideas I've used or you've used. I've used your idea before and it's worked for me before. And I don't know if you use a similar situation to what I've explained, but it's like there's many different ways to do it. And I think like that's probably one of the great things about the community and the group that we have here is what you have access to is dependent on you and your skill set and your background and your propensity to run media, or maybe build a community, or maybe do a partnership, or do a joint venture, or do some collaboration, or do something like that. There's so many different ways to solve one individual problem based on your individual situation. And anyone that's out there telling you that like there's only one way to build a business in 2026, or there's only one solution to go from zero. It's like there are so many different ways based on you and your resources and your time, and your attention, and the amount of money you've got, all those particular things. And this group, this community that we have that we're building in 2026 is going to be a plethora of all these opportunities available for amazing new founders to build, to grab from, to learn from, to be like, I'm going to grab that piece. I'm going to grab that piece. I'm going to grab this thing. Let me bring it all together and build the strongest business in 2026 that can go from zero to hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, like so many of our amazing founders in the community. And that's really what I wanted to demonstrate through this episode today. So very, very, very powerful episode, Hammond. I think this is helpful for a lot of people, and I think we should do some more of things like this in terms of showcasing people, both of our different perspectives,
Absolutely. And for any person listening to this, actually in the mastermind, I'm doing every single week a live case study where I essentially do this. Like we launch new things and we scale them. So it's actually demonstrated weekly in the mastermind. Also just for activation.
I mean, it's the ultimate, you know what I mean? It's like money where your mouth is. Like we show this stuff week on week on week in live real time. So look, if you enjoyed this episode, let us know in the comments or let us know via shooting us an email, support@ecomcapital.com, which of these options you most prefer, which way you would launch your business. If you've got some other crazy strategy that you would use to launch your business, maybe submit that thing to us and we can break it down and talk about it on one of our next episodes. But otherwise, lots of fantastic strategies going to be released in 2026 on this podcast. Super pumped for what the future holds. Hammond, always a pleasure to speak to you. And let's get cracking into the year ahead.
Yes, absolutely. I'm very excited about the future. I know we're going to scale massive things. We're going to get there.
Very good. Let's make it happen.
Right.